Welcome back to More Moss to the People. This is Asa, and I am your host. Today, I have a guest from Toronto, Canada, beautiful Jeff Orr, state clearer and declutterer, estate clearance and declutterer, right?
That's exactly it. Perfect. Perfect.
Yes, yes. Okay, I got it after the second try. That's good.
That's very good.
Welcome. Welcome
Hello.
aboard. I'm so glad.
I
I'm so
am
glad
so
that
glad to
we
be
had
here.
the time to get this together today.
Me too. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for inviting me along to talk with you.
My gosh, you know what? I'm so excited I found you because our mutual friend, Tammy Faulds,
Hmm?
introduced us via the intranets. And we met last week, and I'm like, oh, I love him. I love him. I got to
Feeling was
have
mutual.
him. Oh, thank you. I'm like, it's this new passion, this new humongous like burning in me now to be working with the decluttering and the Swedish death cleaning led me to you. And this is why I love when we lead from our hearts, the beautiful people that we get to meet. So please, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are as a person and where you are today in your life.
Certainly. So I'll go right back to the beginning. I grew up on a dairy farm north of the city, so very country or rural roots.
Mm.
But I've always had this affinity for people. I love working with people. I have this connection to nature and just everything about how things work together and function. I ended up studying landscape architecture, which taught me how to assess and use people in space and how we use space. And then I actually ended up in sales and got burnt out. Surprise,
Mm.
surprise, as that
Mm.
often happens in many of
Yeah.
our careers. But what it all was doing was leading me to here, and I
Mm.
discovered organizing. I joined organizing and found that my passion was working with people who were struggling finding their contentment with their items. And in a lot of
Mm.
cases, what I found the
Mm.
best place for me was actually working where people were grieving. And that
Mm.
meant doing estate clearing if somebody's passed or there's a big change in their life, and I'm helping them get rid of items and lessen their loads, so to speak,
Mm.
and helping them get to the next stage of their life that I feel is a
Mm.
much happier and more content place for them.
Mm.
So I love what I do. I can't believe I actually get to do this for a living.
Isn't it
That is
great?
where I'm at. Oh, it's so amazing.
I feel it so much every time even when I'm watching any of your stuff on Instagram. I mean, it comes out of you that you're so obviously loving this work. Now, but I have to ask you,
Mhm.
why helping people who are grieving, or why helping people at that stage of their, what about that has drawn you in?
I think for me, it's always been about helping people. I think that's my
Mm.
biggest gift. That's one of my unique abilities. I've always wanted to help people. And where some people will shy away from that because they don't know, they become uncomfortable. They don't know what to say to people. I sort of run into it head in a comfortable way, but very calming way to say, I'm here. I support that. What do you need?
Mm.
Without me trying to come in and take over and decide for them. I've
Mm.
always believed that people know what they want. They maybe just need the guidance to get there. And that's sort of my strength, is being able to guide people in that without me leading them in a way that I'm putting my ideas onto them. I
Right.
can do it in a way that draws out what they're looking for. And I
Mm.
love it. That's my
Well,
passion.
that's a skill. That is a definite skill, to not have like this intention of your own, like somehow it's about you.
Mhm. It's not.
Of course
It's so
it's
not
not.
about me.
Well, it's like, well, you know what? I know what they need to do. I know what they
Yeah.
should do. And you know what? I'm just going to tell them what to do.
Hmm.
And I mean, have you ever found that you you have people like that that are just like, oh God, Jeff, just tell me what I need to do, please.
Yes, a lot. And a lot of times I do know what to do, and
Yeah.
that is to guide them through it. So I ask them the questions, and there are ways to do that in such a way to draw that out from people. I
Mm.
find most people actually know what they want. They just don't know how, or won't give themselves the permission to do it.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
almost act like that person that gives them the authority to do it and
Mm.
feel good about their decisions. Yeah, I
Mm.
help them choose.
Yeah, so powerful, like for them to know, especially in a time of grieving,
Mm.
that somebody's got their back, number
Mhm.
one, and that they're not alone,
No.
right? I mean, which is, I think that's probably the hardest thing that I would imagine that sometimes I get, I can see that people would want to do it alone, but depending on where they're at in the process, and if this is after a death or a family death or
Mhm.
something, there's so much around it, and that's why I think that it's so important that instead, like, you're guiding people, you're not telling them, or
Yes.
you're coaching,
Mhm.
you're assisting them through the process, through lifting them up, which is so beautiful.
Exactly. And so much of it is about conflict, I find, whether it's conflict with the people that are left or there's conflict with dealing with the past. And they
Mm,
really struggle with that. And they think, I should just know how to do this. But who
mm,
taught you how to do, like, this
right,
is not
based on
something.
what experience.
Yeah, exactly. And so a
Mm,
lot of people are going through this for the first time. They may not even have had friends or other family members that have gone
yeah.
through this. So they have no clue. And then they feel so defeated right at the start of the
Mm,
process, and it's so comforting to be able to come in. A lot of times, one of my favorite lines that what client said to me was, um, "I didn't even know I needed your services or that you even existed until I found you, and then I'm going, where were you all my life?
where have you been all
Where
my
have you
life?
been? Where have you been?" And I
It's so
thought, well, that's
true.
interesting. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that, like, having conversations now that, like I've told you, this is something very new that's just like coming into my realm of
Hmm.
understanding that this is something that I love and
Hmm.
that I would be honored to help people with. And so when we spoke last week and you were talking about families.
Hmm.
So when there are, do you have, I mean, because you've been doing this so much longer, do you have any tips for families, like specifically with multiple siblings? Say, for example, if a parent passes, like
Hmm.
maybe just a little something to think about, like how you can make
Yep.
it go smoother.
Hmm. So the big thing here is to try to get everybody on board with the process. And that can be difficult
Mm,
because you're dealing with a lot of emotion.
mhm,
People have different connections to different things, and it's really getting clear on what needs to happen. So if you're looking at that the house needs to be cleared, we need to sell the house, and then we need to move on, that's a
mm,
great start and to get everybody on board. But that's not always the situation. One
mm.
sibling may have something different. So that's part of a lot of the reason a lot of people call me in. I actually act like a mediator in a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
cases, where I kind of give the tips and the tricks as
sure.
to here's how we all get on board with this.
Mm,
And it's really, I'd say the biggest thing, communication.
yeah,
You have to be very honest about what you're looking for out of this, what you want out of this, because everybody has to get on board.
yeah,
There's a lot of emotions. It can be raw. There's a lot of connections. And what you find you're connected to, somebody else may not, and
right,
vice versa. And it's opening those lines of communications in a way that is positive and helps move everybody forward. You have to remember everybody's going to grieve differently. We're all at different stages. We've got to give everybody a little bit of grace.
for sure. That's so hard, when there's, because we all communicate differently, right?
Mhm.
And what even if I think I'm being clear or I'm saying something that somebody else understands, I mean, this is, you're absolutely right. You are definitely coming in with, you're wearing a lot of different hats, as I could
That's a brilliant way to put it. It's a
well
brilliant way.
imagine.
Mhm.
So do you come in and you do an entire home, like an entire estate for somebody?
In a lot
Estate
of cases,
clearing.
yes. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of times somebody has
Mm,
passed or they're going on to a adult facility where,
yeah, yeah.
there's more care available for them, and they're left with the goods in the home. And
Mm,
so there's all these items, and there is a overwhelming feeling of, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do.
mm,
And I know it has to get done, but at the same time, I'm frozen by this.
mm,
And there's also problems where people have such emotional ties to things, they can't break themselves to
mm,
give themselves permission to allow themselves to move
mm,
through, to process. And it is part of the process of moving forward.
mm.
A lot of times I end up with people that will just say, I want you to do it. just clear it out for me.
Mm.
And I say to them, it's a wonderful thought, but you actually
Mhm.
have to be part of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I need you to be part of this. So I can do all of the, decluttering, and I can make the piles, and I can say, here's the paperwork, here's the photos. But ultimately, you have to make the choice. I
Mm.
can't make that choice for you.
No.
So they find when I come through and do that, they're actually able to make better choices more clearly, because I've taken away one step, which was all that organization at the beginning of the
Right.
process that they just couldn't fathom at the beginning.
Yeah. Tough stuff. So paperwork, what paperwork do you get together for them?
Oh, everything. It can be the paperwork from all through the house. It
So
can
like
be all of
inventory?
it can be, well, not so much that. It can be the paperwork that, the bills, the wills, the appliance
Like,
manifests.
okay,
It can
okay.
be
Like,
any of the
okay. All
paperwork.
right.
Yeah. Anything that's been sitting there that, we use daily in our homes, but is sitting around. In a lot
Sure.
of cases, a lot of the paperwork is probably not needed and has just
Uh-huh.
been accumulating over a period of time.
Mm.
And that can happen with just about anything we get in there. And that's the harder part. There's an exhausting part about that when you go through somebody else's things, especially when you're connected to them.
Mm.
I'm not connected in a way that they are. I can see through a lot of the emotion, the feeling, and that
Mm.
connection to something, and realize this is an item that can go with something else, so I can lay it out very clearly. And when you break it down and then you look at it from a different perspective, where you're not having to look at it from in the room and go, I don't even know how to pull everything together.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you simplify the process for people, it makes it easier for them to make
Mm.
a decision, and they
Sure.
feel better about it.
Mm. Tell me how do you kind of ground yourself? Because I can imagine this is a very emotional thing. You're around a lot of different types of feelings. How do you tend to your beautiful heart with this kind of work?
So I really do have to take care, because I get involved.
Mm.
When you walk in there, I walk in a stranger and they have to trust that I'm doing something for their best interest.
Right.
And I can't help get connected, because I'm being invited into their most sacred spaces. I'm going to see things that other people may have never seen, or that the family has never let anybody else know.
Mm.
So I have to be trusting of that. I have to honor that.
Yeah.
And it is about honoring. So
Mm.
I will make sure that I do my meditation, that I am very mindful. I eat right. I do exercise, all of
Yeah.
those things, because I really do have to go in with a very clear heart and mind, so that I can give my best to those people. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of self-care that I do for myself, so that
Mhm.
I can be
Good.
the best for them.
Yeah.
I really do believe you have to do that if you're heart-centered with this. And I really do
Mhm.
believe you kind of have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that that would be hard to walk in there and be, like, so black and white, like that kind of energy. It's like, "Oh
Yes.
god."
And that exists out there. There are
Yeah.
people and things that's very much how they will deal with it. And some people are okay with that.
Yeah.
I find the clients that are attracted to work with me are the ones who need to go through a process, who don't understand it, who want to be guided through, and
Mm.
at the end come out of it feeling so much better, and in fact say it helped so much. And
Mm.
that to me is, to hear that for
Mhm.
me is just the most amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking about also decluttering people's homes, where you said something that I loved, and that was staged to stay. Talk
Yes.
about that a little bit.
So stage to stay came about from the North American stagers here, who would go in and clean the houses and get them ready for sale here. And what they started to do was, people were saying to them, "Oh my gosh!" They would walk into their homes and go, "I love this house. Why am I selling? Like, this is
I'm not
great.
going anywhere.
I'm not going
Forget
anywhere." I know. And then the real estate guy would be going, "Oh, nervous," thinking, "What the
it.
heck had happened here?" But the idea became, there were stagers saying, I think there's a business here for them, that if you actually lived in your home at the best of its ability and its potential now, wouldn't that be great? Because we all do that when we go to sell necessarily, but we
Mhm.
don't do it for ourselves before. And the idea is that you clear out, you declutter, you bring out your beautiful things, you set them out, you're living with less around, and
Mhm.
you walk in and you feel comfortable and you fall in love with your home again. Now,
Love that.
why would you do that and stay? So
Yeah,
stage to stay.
I
Yeah,
love that.
I
See,
do too.
I mean, to people, because what I noticed when I lived in America and sold real estate in America,
Hmm.
in the US, how often people moved. And it was maybe 3 to 5 years when I mean, I would have that's a pretty quick turnaround of, I think, of owning a home.
Hmm.
Now, when I moved to Sweden, people don't move as much here. It's very expensive to have real
Hmm.
estate here, to purchase real estate. But I mean, I like the thought of, why don't you love where you are? Stay. I mean, make it nicer. Get rid of things now, or have people in and have sales or what have you, or auction houses, and
Hmm.
get rid of the things. But you said something that you also come up with, is that people think their stuff is worth so much.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love people for thinking that so much of their things are so valuable that they just love them so much that they don't want to part with them because there's big value.
Mm.
And sometimes there is, and it's the associated value that they put
Yeah.
on things that can be so tough. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard.
I could just see, like, the siblings of somebody, oh, that's worth a lot of money. We're going to make a lot of money on that. It's like,
Hmm. Hmm.
no.
No, and that's the problem. And very
Unfortunately.
often when you get into the situation of multiple people involved, someone thinks something's worth more.
Sure.
I do not take great pride in being able to show them, here's the examples, here's what they, so maybe this isn't worth what you think it is.
Yeah.
Now, if you can find somebody to pay for that
Yes,
and
you
what you
should
think it
definitely try
is,
to sell it.
and please tell me where you're doing that, because
Yeah.
I would love to be able to offer the same thing to my clients. And it's hard because you do not want to devalue what somebody feels about something, or
Right.
that something doesn't have value. I don't want to be that. I don't want to
Right.
take that away from somebody,
Mm.
but I also have to be a realist with them and show them and,
Sure.
tell them what's going on. And we're sort of in a very interesting point in on the planet where
Yes.
I don't think we've ever had this much wealth
Mm.
amongst so many people, even though it is becoming narrower and narrower. But we all have been able to provide for ourselves. And the idea of a wedding and a wedding presents, before you would set up a home, a lot of times now people don't even need that.
Mm.
So when they're young and moving out on their own, they're sort of already set up with the new things. They
Mm.
don't need that generational
Yeah.
wealth or those items coming down to them, where before they were very much appreciated. And it's not that they're not appreciated, but they're not needed in the same way.
Mhm.
So we now have this glut of items coming out
Mm.
to a marketplace because there's far more people downsizing, decluttering,
Yes.
passing away. And
Mm.
because of that, the market dictates what's going on. There's more of those items on the market, so the
Sure.
prices come down.
Supply and
And
demand.
exactly.
Mm.
So you can only push certain items and certain things into certain
Mm.
places. And past
Mm.
that, the value of things just doesn't hold. And our
Mm.
antiques are not what they used to be. And it's
Yeah.
sad. We have
Yeah.
beautiful things that don't have the value. So I tell people, love them and use them, but don't hold on to them just because necessarily there's a monetary value
Yeah.
attached to them.
Yeah. We think there's going to be a monetary value attached.
Yes.
I found that also here in Sweden. There's so many old homes. And so there's furniture that's potentially several hundreds of years old. I mean, which
Yes.
are, they're beautiful, but
Oh.
the next generation doesn't want it. But unfortunately, the next generation, they're too young. And so this generation doesn't want to hold on to it for their kids. So it's like, oh gosh, all these beautiful things, the beautiful
Mm-hmm.
woods and the linens and all that, that's just gonna go into the recycling or junk. Yeah,
Oh.
which is sad.
It is,
But
but I think it's also we're going to hit a point where there's going to become an appreciation for that.
mm,
I do think, I don't know when, I don't think it's going to be necessarily this big trend where people are all of a sudden going to rush and everybody's going to fill their home with antiques. But I
mm,
feel and I hope that people will start to value some of those pieces
mhm,
as important milestones and markers and memories for people
mhm,
without impeding and becoming a burden onto their lives, because that can
mm,
happen too. Because if you're just throwing it into storage and it just sits in a basement, why would you keep a beautiful piece
mm.
sitting in a basement underneath a drop cloth
Yeah.
when you could be using it?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. And also, like, recycling in our own homes. That's what I
Mhm.
also really appreciate about stagers that come in, that instead of bringing in new things, to use
Exactly.
what you have and move things around. And
Exactly.
when you have furniture in the basement or you have different things, I've had
Mhm.
so many gifted friends over the years that have been able to see things like that and just like, how about moving this around? I'm like, it looks so
Exactly.
good. It looks so good.
And it's interesting
Sustainability.
yes, it's interesting you say that because I know in a couple of cases where we would move things spatially around in a home when we were going to
Mm.
sell it or, working with that. And they would say, oh, I never thought of using in my that piece like that in my next home. That's where I'm going to use it. And
Isn't
it
that fun?
it regenerate. It is. It's wonderful when you can actually
Mm.
find the joy and the love for a piece again or something that's been
Mm.
sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, there's a premise here in Sweden called slit och släng. Slit, and like where you just like use it a couple times and you pitch it. It's
Hmm.
like just like, oh, I'm just getting rid of it, I'm just throwing it away. I'm
Yeah.
just throwing it away. It's like, well, if you can use it or reuse it or recycle it, because the thing here, I told you I love the recycling stations here. They're so
Yes.
beautiful.
Oh,
Not beautiful, but I
so
mean, I
jealous.
love the whole
Well,
idea of being able
yeah.
to, this weekend when my husband and I were working, we were working in our front entry and we went down and we went up and did what we could as far as our death cleaning process, which has begun.
Hmm.
And just to be able to move it out of here right away, get it out of here right away. And how lucky we are to have the availability of a place to bring things, to then have it be repurposed, reused, recycled for other things. That's not every country has that.
No, but you hit on a very great note there. It's that idea that you actually, part of the process of moving through is seeing those items leave. And that
Mhm.
is such a key part of actually seeing progress. You actually, at some point, have, oh, I know there's such greatness when
Get
you
it out.
look at a space and you realize you've accomplished and that part of it's gone. You
Yeah.
can kind of cross that off the list.
Well, that's the whole, oh, I just got chills.
Good.
Oh,
Love it.
that's good. I love this because the whole idea of by going room by room, which is, we had a discussion about that
Mhm.
where, I kind of have made my list. Okay, I want to start here. I'm going to go here and here and here and here and here. And so starting in the entry where I had my donate pile, my
Mhm.
recycle pile, and then the pile that actually would have to be like burned, the stuff that has to be,
Yes.
because it can't be reused or
No.
recycled because it's
Yeah.
basically trash. And that's just like having it done and seeing my piles. I'm like, oh, this is so nice. And
And
then
it
we were like
inspires you.
smiling the whole way to the recycling station. I'm like, hee, hee,
Mhm.
hee.
Good
And
for
then to
you.
donate it, the man, he was so funny when we went to the donation place. He would come in with all these boxes and he's looking at it. He's like, ugh, thanks. Oh, how rude. You don't want my pink garment bag from 84.
Yeah. But that you just raised a very good point. It's that feeling that what we have then has this big value to somebody else. And it's that ownership. And I try to tell people all the time, you are doing a good thing, but remember, you can't, not that your stuff was not good, but there's
Yes.
people that I have that tried to donate and it is garbage and they just
Yeah.
want they want it comes from a good place, but I have to remind people you can't just donate the
Give your
garbage.
garbage to
You
somebody
can't
else.
exactly. It is
Yeah.
yours. You have
Uh,
to deal with it. But you're right. I love it. And the guy looks, yeah, oh, great. Thanks very much. Yeah. That's what I kind of tell them is that people are not necessarily going to be as excited about your stuff either. So,
I mean, it was nice stuff.
of course it was.
Of course it was. So tell me, because as I sit and look around my house and I have so many things from my elders, and Thomas
Hmm.
has things from his deceased parents, and
Hmm.
there's like that nostalgia, that like, oh my God, I
The
shouldn't if I let it.
sentimentality. Yeah.
Yes. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh. How do you have any tips for people like me? Because I mean, I'm trying to do this with like with my
Hmm.
head on straight. Not like I'm gonna drop dead next. I mean,
No.
hopefully I have no idea. I might drop dead next week. I don't know. But I want to get my home and my body, mind, soul,
Mm.
spirit, my home in order
Yes.
so that I can feel at peace today. The
Hmm.
whole idea is what I want to share with others and meet new people and share new people with my people. Do you have any tips or ideas for people to just to think about as an exercise, maybe even for themselves, when they're holding on so tight to
Yes.
something that's maybe
And a
gotta go.
lot of, yeah, and a lot of times I find the reason they're holding on so tight is it's that memory.
Mm,
And they feel that if they let go of that, they're letting go of the memory.
mhm,
And so the one thing I ask people to do is really think about, what does this item mean to you and why are you so connected?
mm.
Is it that it brings this wonderful memory, or do you feel obligated? Because there's a lot of people that feel obligated to keep it.
Oh, yeah.
Obligation that this is family history. This is, nobody else wants it, so I have to take it on.
Mhm.
And I say to people all the time, how does this item make you feel? Well, this sat in our home and blah, blah, blah. And they come with these great stories and they say,
That's not what
but
I
you
asked.
haven't told, yes, thank you. And I say, but that's not what I asked.
Mm,
How does this make you feel? And some people right away have a response. Some people have to think about it. And other people don't have an answer for me. And
mm,
I say to them, I want you to think about your connection to this item. It is an item. It is not the person. And I want you to,
mm,
before you make this decision, decide, is this of value to you to keep, in that this will bring you joy, in
mm.
that you are going to take this out and put it up somewhere, because people will have in a room, pictures, all of these things, and paintings, vases, lamps, but they don't have them out on display. And I say, what is preventing you from putting them out there? If you're holding real value to this,
Yeah.
why do you not have them? Because things of value you put out, things of beauty and things that you like, you put out. So
Mhm,
if you haven't done that, what's holding you back from that? Do you
mhm,
feel guilt because you don't love it as much as you should?
mhm,
Do you think your mother or your father or somebody would be, scolding you for you shouldn't be doing that? The items now belong to you, and I'm giving you permission to choose what you want to keep, where you want to put it, or what you want to let go. And
mm,
often there's a little light bulb that goes in. They realize, oh, this is my decision.
mm.
There's a past and a history
Yeah,
to it,
yeah,
but it's mine now. And
mm,
then that can also bring a lot of other rush of emotions
mm,
going, oh my gosh, they're gone and now it's just me. But
yeah,
I say to them,
mm,
I'm here to support the fact that you get to choose, and you do. And it is that ultimate, is that this belongs to you now. You can choose. There's no judgment or criticism for this, but
no,
what do you want to keep?
mm,
And if people do that and think about it as
mm. That's
separating
nice.
the memories and all these other things from just the item, I find they have a better chance of coming to peace with it, and really either embracing it and loving it, or saying, this isn't serving me at this point, or
Yeah,
not now, or in the
yeah,
future, and I'm ready to let it go. And I
mm,
find I will get a larger proportion of what they are keeping gone because of that, because I've
mm,
given them the permission. So I
mm.
ask people to give themselves permission to let things go.
That's really good because I think that there's a lot of holding on to the burden from the family said this was for me, so that meant
Yes.
something to them. So then hence it has to mean something to me when
Yes.
maybe it doesn't. It truly
It,
doesn't. And it's just one more thing that you have in the home that you got to go like, gotta take
Oh,
care of
yeah.
that. I
So
gotta
this
take
is the
care of
perfect
that.
example to give for this. When my grandparents passed away, we were all very close, and we've been a very close family. My dad and his two sisters and all my cousins, who are almost like brothers and sisters to me, my
Mm,
cousins. We went through the house after my dad and his two sisters had sort of, picked the things that they knew that they wanted. Of course, upper levels there they get to, and they
yeah.
said, all right, we all know there's certain things that are, Granny or Papa wanted you guys to have, but let's go through and do that. And I'll use the example, there was a painting, and I know my brother had always liked it, but it was going to my aunt. It was always said it was going to my aunt.
Mm,
And my aunt said to my brother, she turned to him, she said, I like this painting, but it's always just been assumed that it's coming to me. She goes, but I think you love it. Do
mm,
you want it? And my brother was, no, no, that's for you. And what happened was we went through this lovely process of, well, actually, I love this, but I like that. And
yeah.
there was this beautiful exchange, and
Mm,
everybody sort of was able to take things that had great meaning to
mm,
them, but maybe was, earmarked for somebody else, but nobody cared
yeah.
enough to fight about it,
Mhm,
because we just wanted everybody to have what they wanted, or a piece of that, and have something they loved. And
mm.
that doesn't always happen. That is a
No,
very rare. We were
that's
very
nice.
lucky, but we were able to laugh about it because we were saying,
Yeah.
this isn't how this was supposed to go.
Yeah, 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 but you were all
But it was
open to
better.
it. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was far better. And I think I wish
Mm,
everybody could have that experience with that. No, there were some items where, of course, more than one person wanted, and there was no fighting, but it was like, well, who's gonna, no, you take. And there were times when we were actually saying, no, no, you take this, you
No, no,
take this,
you.
in lovely ways. Yeah, not because we were trying to pawn it off, but
Yeah.
because everybody cared enough to say, and that to me, I should write a book about that. Like, because
Yes.
honestly,
People
I
need
don't
to
think
read
that's
that.
I don't think that's the experience most people have.
No,
And it
no.
was very beautiful. And
It's
as
nice.
much as, we were sad, it was a closing of a chapter. It was a wonderful way. And I know my grandparents would have been proud to think that that's how
Yeah,
that went. Even though they had said, well, this should go to this person, they'd just be happy to know that
of
whoever
course.
had it loves it.
Well, I'm
So,
sure it's much more important that I think I love that what you say about, well, I loved it, but I like it, but
mhm.
you love it. What a
Yes,
difference. What a difference in that. It's like,
it
yeah, well, I
is.
actually do.
It
And for somebody
is.
to graciously accept that also, that's nice.
Exactly. Like, I took the one thing I wanted out of the house was a beat up old enameled, and they call it the tea biscuit bowl, which my grandma made the tea bit. Nobody wanted, and they all laughed when I said I wanted. They said that was going out in the garbage. I said, I know you all thought it was, but I want
It's
that.
coming home with
It's
me.
coming up, and I use it,
Oh,
and
that's so sweet.
I love it. I love it. It
Yeah.
reminds me in such a
Mm,
beautiful way, and it's used. Now it does sit in a drawer, but it's got a special spot. And when
yeah.
I do make the tea biscuits, that's what they're made in. It's
That's
just
so
too
sweet.
funny. What meant something to me
Yeah.
meant nothing to
Yeah.
anybody else.
That's good. That's I think that's lovely. I think it's,
Yep.
I don't like fighting. I'm a peaceful girl. I
Yeah.
like for everybody to get along. I'm not
Me
gonna be
too.
causing a crazy stink with anything. Certainly not over things. Um,
No.
and I've had some family here in Sweden, and I don't even understand how this works. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but when a family member dies, that there's like an auction, not an
Hmm.
auction, but like people like bid for the things in their own home. Have you
Yes.
heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of that
Interesting.
before. Mainly that becomes it's just the settlement of the goods as such, where they go in and they assess values to everything so that it's like it's
Uh,
distributed more evenly, I think,
okay, so
because
it has a financial
yeah,
side to it.
usually because you don't want the one kid to get the Mona Lisa and then the other kids get
The
nothing,
tea
right? So
biscuit bowl.
yeah, if exactly. I would have been happy with the tea biscuit bowl,
Yeah, yeah.
just saying too much
Sounds nice
upkeep
to
on the
me.
Mona Lisa,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
She's not that pretty.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yep.
Uh,
Oh, I love it.
there's just so many options. I mean, it just goes to show us, to get creative, and that when we're dealing with families, when we're working through death, when we're working through the thought of planning for death, and we're uh, staging to stay. I mean, all these different opportunities and alternatives are out there for us, and I think that it's super important that we consider that there are people like you, there are
Mhm.
people like me, there's people like Tammy Fald
Exactly.
that are here to help. We were never meant to do it all alone.
No, and I think that's the key is that and I said this right at the beginning, so many people say, I didn't know your services
Yeah,
existed.
yeah.
And once they do, they say, I can't believe that people don't know that this exists because
Mm,
they can struggle otherwise without
yeah,
it. And it's
yeah.
so beautiful to think that we can help them in a way with our knowledge and experience and help make it easier for them because that's what
Mm,
they're looking for. I
yeah.
think people forget that oftentimes this is the first time, especially if somebody's passed away, parents, this is the first time that the siblings have had to work together as a
Mm,
family in this capacity since
mhm.
they were probably since before they left home.
Yeah.
So that's tricky because as much as you get along, the dynamics might have changed, power struggles, those sort of things, they all play into it, and
Mm,
birth order. So to think that they can just walk in and everything's going to be absolutely perfect. There are people that can.
mm,
And I bless them for being able to do it. That's amazing. But for
yeah.
those that want the help, we're here. And it's amazing
Mm,
that these services are available to them.
mm. To us, to all
Mhm.
of us,
To all of us,
all of
exactly.
us.
Anybody who is
Mm,
open and willing to
mm.
have us come in and help.
That's right. That is so right. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. It's important conversation. This
Thank you.
it is vital that we share the information. And when I said that I had this podcast, that's we talk, I speak with people who are doing things differently, who dare to live a life of like authenticness and to show up in the world in a way and supporting others that maybe don't get the support. I mean, those are the kind of cool people I want to have on here. And you are absolutely a perfect specimen of a
Oh,
perfect guest.
thank
And
you. And I connected with you right away because you have this drive and this passion
mm,
for it, and it's amazing what you're doing and this new path you're taking too. I just
so
want to
fun.
support that with you
Thank
because
you.
the more of us out there doing this
Yep.
good work, the more we can help people, the better off
Yes.
we all are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am right with you.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Thank you, my new friend. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
on today. And
Thank
maybe we
you.
can have you back. Maybe you, me, and Tammy could do something one time. That'd be so
Oh,
much fun.
I would love that. Oh my,
we
yes.
we got to figure out how that can happen. It can't be that hard.
Yeah.
We can figure
No,
it out. We can figure
we
it
can
out.
definitely.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you so
today.
much.
And you have a beautiful, beautiful afternoon there in Canada.
You as well. Have a great day. Thank you so much again, and look forward to
Thanks.
talking to you soon.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.